Hey, welcome back to the Standards Tech and Science Daily podcast, and I'm Rachel Abbott. Coming up, scientists say nanoplastics can interfere with antibiotics. But first, the UK Health Security Agency has issued an amber cold health alert for all regions of England until midday Wednesday, the 8th of January. Health Secretary Wes Streeting told BBC Breakfast that it is definitely a weekend to turn the heating on. For the latest, Tech and Science Daily spoke to Alex Deakin, Met Office meteorologist and presenter.
We've had Arctic air that's gradually been pushed down across the country. Now, we had such a wet and windy spell over the new year, of course. That's now been replaced by this colder air that's come down from the Arctic and is sitting over the country. That's why it's so cold. -7 last night in Oxfordshire, one of the coldest nights of the winter so far. We haven't seen many frosts. December was actually quite a mild month. So, yeah, it is a bit of a shock to the system.
Alex also told Tech and Science Daily about freezing rain, which we don't see very often in the UK and likely to cause problems.
It's where basically rain is falling through air that is below freezing. So it's super cooled rain. It stays in its liquid form. It doesn't have time to turn back into snow or refreeze. But what it does do as soon as it hits the surface is it then freezes on impact and it creates an ice rink. It creates thick layers of ice very quickly in very, very slippery conditions. I say we don't see this very often in the UK, this freezing rain, but there's quite a strong signal from this weather system coming in that we are likely to see this, particularly over the Midlands and parts of Wales. So it's going to be very slippery. Even if you don't get the snow, the freezing rain could cause issues. And then, of course, it all melts. And because it's been quite wet recently, that could cause some flooding issues as well. So there's plenty of things to consider with this system coming in at the weekend.
On Thursday, the Met Office issued a revised yellow warning to Wednesdays for snow from noon on Saturday until midnight on Sunday evening. That covers all regions of England other than the southwest. The previous warning had run until 9 a.m. on Monday. Alex gives us an update, including the addition of a new amber warning.
So we issued a yellow snow warning as far back as Wednesday, and today, Friday, the warning area has been focused in. We've issued now 2 amber weather warnings for snow across much of northern England and snow and ice across parts of the Midlands, northern England and Wales as well. So in these areas, we are likely to see some serious disruption from the snow for, power issues, that kind of thing. Several centimetres of snow likely at low levels, much more than that over hills, 20, 30, some of the highest hills across northern England, North Wales could see as much as 40 centimetres of snow.
The weather is likely to bring significant impacts, including power cuts, transport issues and flooding.
The impacts are many and varied. Snow isn't something we see that often, so we haven't seen much of it so far this winter across parts of England and Wales. So it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system, even though, a lot of it is over hills, which do get, various snowfalls through most winters. But it is going to be quite significant, this, and it can cause problems. It's going to be so much that it could cut off small villages. It certainly could create power issues, power cuts. So, you can be prepared for that by making sure where your torches, have a battery charger for your phone, that kind of thing. Make sure you know where all your medicines are if you need them, and have some food supplied as well if so you don't have to go out. There's things like that we can be prepared for. Power issues, transport is going to be affected by this, as well as the potential for flooding when it all thaws.
Next, former UK Deputy PM Nick Clegg is stepping down as Global Policy Chief at Meta after 7 years. Meta appointed into the role Joel Kaplan, a former Republican White House staffer, in what appears to be an obvious shift towards Donald Trump's upcoming presidency. Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg met with President-elect Trump in November and has also donated millions towards his inauguration. Next, scientists from Umeå University in Sweden say their recent study shows when nanoplastics enter the body, they can impair the effect of antibiotic treatment. Plus, their results also indicate that the nanoplastics may lead to the development of antibiotic resistance. Tech and Science Daily spoke to lead author Professor Lukas and PhD student Nikola Zlatkov.
The evidence of antibiotic resistance is heavy, so there are more than 1.2 million deaths a year. If you compare it to malaria, there are about 800,000 malaria deaths a year. This is, of course, a huge issue for the medical community and for the patients, of course. To differentiate the reason for the antibiotic resistance is much more difficult than, the fact that this is a huge issue.
Just to highlight that, antimicrobial resistance is a global crisis that can put our civilization back to the pre-antibiotic era, meaning that simple medical procedures become very dangerous in the future. Simple infections or infections that can be easily cured by administering particular drug have the potential to become fatal in the future. I would dare say that would be like in the near future, because in 2019, we think that antimicrobial resistance contributed to the death of, as Lukas said, even more than 5 million people. That's extremely alarming.
Nanoplastics are plastic particles that are smaller than 1,000th of a millimetre and float freely in the air. They can be found on many household items, including packaging from online orders, plastic water bottles, and clothes such as nylon tights. The authors focused on how some of the most common nanoplastics interact with tetracycline, which is a common broad-spectrum antibiotic.
So it's difficult to dose the antibiotic, especially the tetracycline in this case, because it's then bound to the plastics, and therefore you would need to give higher doses of these antibiotics to get there to reach the concentration you actually want to give. And that can lead to resistance, because if doctors don't give the right dosage of antibiotics to the people, if they have high levels of micro nanoplastic particles, then they bind to the antibiotics and they don't have the right dosage of these drugs to kill the bacteria.
With further research needing to be undertaken, they say their results show nanoplastics are a health risk that should be taken more seriously. The study is published in the scientific journal Scientific Reports. Let's go to a very quick break. Coming up in part 2, has Nintendo Switch 2 core hardware been leaked? See you back here in just a minute. Welcome back. Has Nintendo's Switch 2 core hardware been leaked on Reddit? The Standard reports photos of what appear to be the console's motherboard have been posted on Reddit, showing the brains of the upcoming handheld system. This leak links in with another piece of recent Switch 2 news. On December the 31st, Nintendo filed a patent detailing how it may use NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling in games. Next. Now, if you're an eco-conscious flyer, this one might be of interest. A popular British low-cost airline has become the world's first to use lower-weight paint to reduce its plane's fuel burn. EasyJet are trialling lowering the number of layers needed to create its familiar orange and white branding on the plane. They say the relatively modest weight reduction of 27 kilograms per plane is part of many incremental steps to make its aircraft lighter. By doing so, this decreases the amount of fuel they burn and, therefore, the carbon emissions. The method has been used on 38 EasyJet planes so far, and it's predicted will lead to an annual fuel saving of nearly 1,300 tonnes across the fleet by 2030. Next. Conservationists in Scotland have warned that coastal waters are losing their undersea wilderness. Nature restoration projects across Scotland's highlands and islands have been hit by years of unsustainable fishing practices and other human-driven impacts. Sea Wilding, a charity based in Ardfern on the west coast, is developing methods to restore seagrass beds and native European oyster populations, which create structure on the seabed that provides habitats to other species, captures carbon, and filters seawater. And finally, the Duke Law School's Centre for the Study of Public Domain has released the latest works once bound by copyright. This time round, their list of offerings includes, to name a few, Alfred Hitchcock's first sound film Blackmail, On With the Show, the first all-talking feature-length film in colour, and Popeye, Gobs of Work, minus the spinach. Spinach was introduced to the cartoon in 1932. and you're up to date. Come back at 4 p.m. for the Standard podcast. Tech and Science Daily returns on Monday. For all the latest news, head to standard.co.uk.